Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post of Parshas Re'eh is going to discuss Perceptual Control Theory, PCT. Now, this theory of PCT I'm particularly fond of because I used this theory in my dissertation in university, and the research was published. So I'm quite excited to try to see how we can relate it to this week's parsha. So at the beginning of this week's parsha, we have the pasuk of where it says Re'eh Anoichin Nosei Nifnechem Bracha Uklala. Now, what are we seeing? What are the Bnei Yisrael seeing? They're seeing the goal of receiving bracha from Hashem and how do they receive this bracha? By keeping the Torah and the mitzvahs. So this sounds quite simple. We're given the choice. You can have bracha. That's your goal. You need to behave in the right way. You'll get the bracha. So what's the difficulty? The difficulty is that human behavior is not so simple. Human behavior is complex, and sometimes, for different reasons, our behavior deviates from its intended goal. And sometimes we see that our behavior is inconsistent or it's changeable. So wouldn't it be good if there was a psychological model that would be able to explain this variability, this changeability of a person's behavior, and that relates to the inconsistency and not being able to reach our goals? This is where perceptual control theory comes in. PCT looks at human behavior as a control system. It was developed by William Powers, initially focused on engineering and the control system of engineering, and he related it now as a psychological model. And he coined this phrase to explain PCT, that behavior is the control of perception, which means that he saw humans as being a control system that the behavior will change in order to achieve a certain goal, in order to meet a certain goal that they have set, that the internal system has set. So let's try to explain this a little bit more. We can take a thermostat as an example. A thermostat has a reference value that measures the temperature in the surrounding environment. And if the temperature meets this set reference value, this set point, then nothing has to happen. But if the temperature goes below this set value, this reference value, then the switch goes on and the heat will be turned on. And when the heat goes above this set value, this reference value, then the switch will then turn the heat off. So we see the thermostat has this system, this control system to achieve homeostasis, in order that the system reaches it remains within the appropriate range of the set reference value, or the goal of the thermostat. So human behavior is similar. It has a goal is its set reference value. A person tries to achieve this goal and will try to ensure that their behavior matches this set reference value. But how is this achieved? It's through perception. A person will see their surrounding environment. They will look at what's going on. And sometimes what happens in their surrounding environment is there are disturbances. Things happen that stop us from meeting this set reference value, that our behavior is not able to be within this appropriate range that we have set for ourselves. And therefore we need to adapt, we need to change our behavior. Like the thermostat, a person's behavior will change in order to ensure that their perception goes back to being as close as possible, closer to their goal, to their set reference value. So this is the human control system suggested by William Powers. So it sounds simple. Perhaps a person should be naturally inclined to change their behavior, to adapt their behavior in order to ensure to return their system to homeostasis. And this is viewed by PCT as reorganization. It's a learning process of trial and error where the person will change their behavior in order to draw their perception closer to the set reference value, to their goal. And that's why behavior is the control of perception. But there is a difficulty, there's a problem, and that is when there is conflict. PCT views conflict as when a person might have two opposing goals or two opposing reference values for the same variable, for the same experience, and therefore they work against each other. There is conflict, and this explains why a person's behavior is inconsistent and changeable, because they're drawn in two different directions. And therefore, a person needs to go through this reorganization, this trial and error process of working out how to resolve this conflict. And PCT suggests that there is a hierarchy of goals, that a person has to look at what their goals are, and this determines a person's behavior. So if we look at this pasuk of Re'ei Anochi Nosein Lefnechem Bracha Uklala, we're trying to achieve our goal of receiving bracha. And there's Re'ei, there's perception, there's bracha and klala, which is the goal, and there's keeping the mitzvahs, which is the behavior. And sometimes we're drawn in different ways. There's the Yetzer Hara, there's free choice, and sometimes our behavior can be inconsistent, and we're not able to always bring our behavior in line with our perception to achieve this desired goal of bracha. So we need to tap into our goals, what the PCT refers to as hierarchical goals. We need to look at our higher level goals to see what is meaningful to us. What are we actually trying to achieve? And this will have a knock-on effect to influence and have an effect on our lower level goals and our behavior, and our behavior will adjust accordingly in order to bring our perception in line with this goal, with this set reference value of receiving bracha. And as we hopefully with this understanding of PCT, as we it increases our awareness of this internal control system that we have, it can fine-tune this system to ensure that we are more able and we are more successful in adapting and changing our behavior in this learning process in order to bring ourselves closer to achieving our goal. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.